Hello everyone, I'm Brior, and welcome back to Goodgame Empire. In this video, we'll be going over some feedback for Goodgame Studios. What will make this video special, however, is it's not my feedback we'll be going over, it's yours. Or, more accurately, it's the community's. What I've done is I've popped over to the official Discord server for Goodgame Empire. On that server, there's a feedback channel where players can post messages or feedback that can be reacted to by other users and which theoretically will be seen by Goodgame Studios. I've scrolled through the messages posted in this channel for about the past 9 months, and what I really wanted to see is whether there was any kind of consensus about the steps that Goodgame Studios could take to fix or improve Empire. What I found is that, generally speaking, there is a consensus. Players think that Goodgame Studios should focus more on fixing features that are already in the game and less on adding new things. Additionally, players are concerned about the balance of monetization in the game. Of course, that's not really a surprise, but I hope to elucidate it a bit more as we talk about some specific pieces of feedback the community has in this video. So, let's begin. The first piece of feedback that I was able to find some consensus over was that Goodgame Studios should really increase the speed of recruitment. I have here this message from Endex Play, posted in the Discord. Endex is a fellow Goodgame Empire YouTuber. I don't think he's made any videos in 2024, but nevertheless, I will post a link to his channel in the description, and I think he puts it best. Endex points out that before Mead troops were added to the game, players were only able to store about 100,000 units per castle at maximum. Now, given the introduction of the Mead system, as well as other changes that have further increased the production of food and mead, like increased public order, players can store millions of troops, including upwards of 4 to 5 million, which is 50 times more. The number of troops that players can send on attacks, both against event targets and against other players, has also gone up. The difficulty of the events has risen as well, so players are likely to encounter many more casualties. However, as Index Play points out here, various features in Empire that are relevant to recruiting troops haven't really changed as much over the past few years. Take, for example, the amount of time or the amount of coins it costs to recruit troops in the barracks, or the amount of coins or time it costs to heal troops in the military hospital, or the amount of coins or time it costs to send troops to another kingdom. The result is that free-to-play players, and low spenders especially, are having difficulty maintaining or growing their armies in the game. They might be able to feed millions of troops, but if they're actively participating in the events and incurring casualties, they won't be able to recruit enough troops to fill their castle to capacity. And this creates yet another advantage that Ruby and premium players can buy. They can simply buy more troops or win more troops at the Wheel of Affluence. Now, Goodgame Studios has taken some steps to alleviate this issue, and for that reason, I think there's hope that Goodgame Studios might consider doing more. For example, Goodgame Studios introduced some new effect decorations this past spring, the Exalted Springtime Towers, that each boost the speed of recruitment by 50%, up to a maximum of 900%. As is pointed out by this post in the feedback channel, however, it will take free-to-play players a very long time to actually collect these decorations, and individually, they don't help very much. Other features like temporary build items that increase the speed of recruitment are similarly not enough because they're not accessible enough to free-to-play players, and of course, being temporary, they expire after only a few days. Another change that Goodgame Studios has made somewhat recently is that it's added more powerful feasts to the game. By paying rubies, you can increase your recruitment speed by 1,000%. If you're not interested in paying rubies, you can activate a hearty aristocratic banquet, which is almost as good. It increases your recruitment speed by 800%. Additionally, players can activate feasts while they already have a feast running, so you can chain together feasts to ensure you'll never be recruiting at the quote-unquote regular speed. Currently, as of the time of recording this video, Goodgame Studios is celebrating Empire's 13th anniversary. And as part of that anniversary celebration, there's an active global effect on all servers called Fast Enlistment that increases the recruitment speed of all units by 800%. By spending rubies, players can increase this effect further, up to 2,000%. It would be great to see Goodgame Studios continue the Fast Enlistment effect even after the anniversary celebrations are done. The next piece of feedback that I saw some community consensus around had to do with the fact that Goodgame Studios has put all of Empire's latest and greatest features behind significant research at the Hall of Legends. For example, Goodgame Studios has recently added an entire new tier of troops. First we had the food troops, then we had the mead troops, now we have the beef troops. But you don't see them much in the game, because in order to unlock them, players have to perform extremely expensive and time-consuming research at the Hall of Legends. Even setting aside the fact that it's pretty difficult to acquire the currency that is used to start this research, and that the main way of acquiring that currency is to gamble on mystery boxes, the simple fact is, players think, the research takes too long of a time. Individual pieces of research can take days, weeks, even months. And this is one of the only areas in the game that players can't use time skips. So, if you want to skip through the research and access the new content more quickly, you'll need to pay rubies. That means, of course, that players who spend money on the game and have extra rubies to blow will access this new content more quickly, which is fine and expected to an extent. The point is, all level 70 players, whether they've just turned level 70 or they've spent a ton of money on the game and are about reaching the stage of having the beef troops fully unlocked, are competing in the same tiers of the events, despite having extremely different levels of power. And for anybody who maybe dipped out of Goodgame Empire for a while, or who is completely new to the game, in order to get caught up, you're going to have to spend a ton of money. And this is really all too bad, because some of the content that Goodgame Studios has added recently seems like it could be good stuff. It just won't be accessible to many players for the foreseeable future. Now, perhaps you don't see an issue with the fact that 2 or more level 70 players could be at very different places in the game, power-wise. What's wrong with that? Well, the player base of Empire is now extremely fragmented. If you spend a lot of money on the game, there's likely only to be a few dozen other players at most on the server that really can compete with you. So the community that you're a part of is smaller. And of course, if you're not that big spender, but you're instead a low spender, you're vulnerable to being hit by the big spenders, and that certainly reduces your enjoyment of the game. Another piece of feedback that I saw pop up several times was that Goodgame Studios could revise the user interface, or UI, to better accommodate some of the more complex new features that have been added to the game recently. Take, for example, the effect decorations. For anyone who still watches my videos despite not playing the game anymore, I'll just take a moment to explain what these are. Essentially, Goodgame Studios took decorations, which, of course, have always given public order, and combined them with build items. So, now, in addition to giving public order, a decoration might increase recruitment speed by 50%, like we saw a little earlier, or cause the player to produce 10,000 more units of mead per hour. Or really anything like that. In fact, there are many possible different effects that come with these decorations, and for the most part, these decorations have been available almost exclusively in premium offers. There are now a few ways to get them in the game that don't involve spending, but especially at first, these decorations tended to appear in offers that had a high dollar value associated with them. Players were spending a lot of money to get them. And it wasn't immediately obvious that for, I think, all of the different effects, there are various caps. We talked about how earlier that Exalted Springtime Tower that increases recruitment speed, that effect caps out at 900%. So you could have 18 of them in your castle, but the 19th one while it would increase your public order, wouldn't increase your recruitment speed anymore. The fact that these caps existed wasn't immediately obvious because nowhere in the game does it tell you that these caps exist. You have to go to the Community Hub, which is a separate website that's not really part of the game, but which is managed by Goodgame Studios. Or you could go to the Discord and you could open up the spreadsheet that the mods have put together, and you'll find the information there. But the game really doesn't make it easy to figure out what the cap is, or for players to even know that there is a cap. And what that gives rise to is situations like the one that led to this piece of feedback being posted on the Discord. Artonil says that he spent money to win the LTPE and earn an Exalted Wolfslayer decoration. Only after he earned the decoration did he learn that he couldn't place it in his main castle because he already had one there. Perhaps it's easy for the rest of us to just say, oh, he should have bothered checking the Discord or reading the Community Hub. But when Goodgame Studios sells these decorations, either directly for cash or makes them top event rewards that players have to spend a substantial amount of money to achieve, Goodgame Studios owes it to players to clearly communicate that kind of information in the game. Otherwise, players will be spending a lot of money and not actually getting what they thought they were spending that money on. Just for fun, let's actually go over to the Grand Anniversary Party. It's the LTPE that is currently running in the game, and you can see there's actually an Exalted Wolfslayer decoration up for grabs for the winner of the event. Nowhere on this tooltip does it explain that you can only have one of these per castle. Perhaps it does say somewhere elsewhere in the game. If so, I'm not aware of it, and that kind of information really does need to be right here in the tooltip, in my opinion, at least. There are other areas where Empire's UI could be improved as well. For example, here I am in my equipment inventory. You can see that I have some relic equipment. Some of these pieces are Generation 2 relic equipment, meaning they have 4 effects each, whereas others are Generation 1. And there's no easy way to tell the difference. Because there's no filter, you actually have to mouse over each piece of equipment individually. Maybe it's not the biggest deal, but it is certainly an inconvenience when players have 35 commanders and something like a dozen Castellans, each of which has 9 pieces of equipment. Another piece of feedback that players were almost in unanimous consensus about, and this really was the biggest one, was that there are so many features in Goodgame Empire that are completely outdated, some of which haven't been touched in years. Here are just a few examples. The daily login rewards, Robber Baron castles not giving enough loot, the Robber Baron King giving a reward of only 300 rubies, the Underworld and the Thorn Kingdom are old events that haven't been seen recently. The Shapeshifters have rewards that are useless and outdated. The Bearmon invasion is not quite as outdated, but it's getting there. There are buildings like the Armory or the Military Academy that are just completely not worth building. The Armory isn't even demolishable, so players are now stuck with it. Meanwhile, in the Outer Kingdoms, you've got the Kingdom Villages where you can sell charcoal or oil or glass. They don't give any good rewards. Alliance property like capitals and metros haven't really been relevant in the game for the better part of a decade. The weekly honor rankings rewards give traveling knights or other low-level, not even mead troops. Additionally, players are bombarded with special offers, some of which are comically overpriced. And not even because Goodgame Studios deliberately put some overpriced offers in there to make the other offers look good, although I'm sure they do that, but rather just because the offers haven't been updated recently. There's also the Adventure Maps feature. There's labs and monuments, not to mention the quest book. I could go on. The point is, it's basically impossible to play Empire for any amount of time without encountering some feature that, again, hasn't been touched in years, isn't worth interacting with, and it's really too bad. How it used to be, back in the day, is that no particular event or feature within Goodgame Empire was all that complicated. Events like the Blade Coast, for example, are pretty straightforward. So are the adventure maps. But there were enough different things to do that they actually, despite not being complicated, were pretty fun. And it's just too bad to see so much of that old content that players enjoyed languish. Goodgame Studios has revisited some of its old content in 2024. For example, they updated the rewards associated with the Blade Coast and with the Storm Islands. And I would actually say that those updates have been the most celebrated of 2024. Players have been more excited about the revisions to Luna's trade boat than they have about any of the beef units or the new buildings. Or so it seems from my perspective. But what's worrying is that some of these updates seem to be outdated almost as soon as they arrive. Take, for example, the Blade Coast decorations with about 4,000 public order each, or the new Storm Islands decorations with a little less than 4,000 public order each. Those are already outdated because players are moving on to the effect decorations that we've been talking about. In my view, just about everything that we've discussed in this video is tied together. Goodgame Studios is going to, in all likelihood, continue following its business model of introducing aggressively more powerful features and then selling those features to the top spenders. Meanwhile, other aspects of the game will become more and more outdated and less worth interacting with. If Goodgame Studios toned down the monetization of Empire, then the features that they added would have a longer useful lifespan. Players would enjoy them for a greater period of time. And that brings me to the final point around which there seemed to be some consensus among the player base. Players seem to think that posting in the feedback channel on the Discord was the equivalent of talking to a brick wall or perhaps yelling to an empty room. In other words, they didn't think Goodgame Studios was ever going to listen. What do you think? Has this video been useful? Is there any possibility that Goodgame Studios could hear and listen to and incorporate this feedback? Do you agree with this feedback? Or do you think this whole video has been an exercise in wishful thinking? Please let me know in the comments because I'm always extremely eager to hear what the audience is thinking. While I'm at it, allow me to ask you to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Brior, and I'll see you next time.